Hello, this is Wilma Tacos, and welcome back to another episode of Stories from Sector 8, the little miniature podcast where I talk about Warhammer. In today's video, I played, well, not today's video, but, using my lost words. Today, I played Warhammer 40k, not fantasy. I didn't play any fantasy today. I wanted to, but I didn't get around to it. I played 40k, and the original plan was a friend of mine who is the guy who always plays the Chaos. Recently picked up the brand new Deathwatch Codex, and he really wanted to play Deathwatch. So the original plan was we were going to do a one-on-one 500-point game, very small scale, and do Deathwatch versus me as playing whatever I chose. And we balanced our lists so that they'd be kind of balanced against each other. We were just going to do a small game, and that was going to be the end of it. But enough players actually showed up today. Like a lot of us were here today. So we kind of talked about it, and what we originally were going to do is we were going to do a series of 500-point games where everyone just kind of teamed off each other, and there was going to be like this miniature tournament. But it occurred to me that we had a total of 6 players. We had 6 players there, and I thought, well, we could do a 3-on-3 and just do one game, and each player brings 500 points, and we'll do a 1,500-point game, 1,500 points per side, and that's kind of an average game, and we would do that, and everyone agreed to it, and that's what we did. So we did a 3-on-3. The enemy team was Imperial Guard, Tyranids, and Deathwatch, and my side was Tau. I was playing Tau, Chaos Space Marines, no demons, and Space Wolves. And we lasted up until turn 5. On turn 5, we rolled the die to see if the game would continue, and it did not. And it ended with a tie, 4-4. The table or the map objective, the game objective that we rolled was capture the flag, where we both had one objective in our zones that was worth 3 points, and we both capped our own points the whole game. And how the points ended up being was we both had 3 points. They had first blood, and we had a special point that I'll get into very shortly. So they went first. We did not steal the initiative. The Deathwatch guy moved forward. He did some shots, but they didn't really amount to much. The Tyranid player moved forward and didn't do much, and the Guards player mostly stayed still and twiddled his fingers and waited. I should go into what everyone had. I've gotta go by memory here. There were 6 of us, and I just got done playing. And if my voice is kind of bad, it's because I haven't drunken anything in quite a number of hours. I wanted to do this immediately. The Deathwatch player brought a Deathwatch formation, and it's a really, really weird formation that's going to be hard to describe. He brought a chaplain as an independent character, so that's an easy one. He brought a chaplain, and then he had 1 unit of 10. 1 unit, but that 1 unit was composed of 1 bike, 2 jump units, 2 jump pack guys, 5 Stern Guard veterans, a Terminator, and a librarian. That's 1 unit. That was really weird, but that's what Deathwatch was composed. That's what his unit was composed of. That's how Deathwatch is. The Tyranid player brought the named character, the Death Leaper. He brought a unit of Hormagaunts, and he brought a unit of Gene Stealers with a Broodlord, and he brought a unit of 3 warriors. And the Guard player kind of had all of his... he had one master plan with his list that paid off. He brought 2 units of Guardsmen. He brought 2 command squads. And he brought a Death Strike missile launcher. A Death Strike missile. So those of you who play Imperial Guard immediately know what's up. Those of you who don't know what the Death Strike missile launcher is, it's basically the NUKE button. That's really what it is. It's basically a NUKE, like straight up. It's as close as you get to a nuke in 40k. It's a nuke. I had 2 units of fire warriors, 11 men strong each. I had a ethereal, I had a fireblade, and I had 3 crisis suits all kitted with plasma. The Space Wolf player had a lone wolf with 2 wolves guarding him, like actual wolves. He had 2 units of Grey Hunters, and he had a Dreadnought. And the Chaos player had I believe it was a Chaos Lord. It was just a generic Chaos Lord, but he was using a weird model for it. But I think it was ultimately just a Chaos Lord. He had a Chaos unit of Marines that was under Slash. I don't know their name. He had a Rhino, and he had a unit of Cultists. So, the Death Watch guys moved forward, didn't do a lot. Tyranids just moved forward, and the Guard sat there and waited and twiddled their fingers. They twiddled their fingers with the Death Strike missile launcher. What it is it's a once per game missile that goes off on a turn on a random die roll, and the die roll gets better the more turns that go by. It can't go off turn 1. It's a nuke, and it was basically the basis of his whole army, but it worked. Our turn 1. The Chaos player moved forward, didn't really do a lot. My army stood basically entirely still, except the crisis suits that moved forward. Nothing else moved. Oh, I'm sorry, I also had a Piranha. I forgot. I had a Piranha. My Piranha started buzzing around, and my crisis suits jumped forward to be in range of the Death Watch. And the Space Wolf player moved forward. So our shooting phase occurs. I'm skipping the psychic phases because they really weren't that significant. Up to a point, they weren't that significant. Our shooting phase occurs. My crisis suits moved forward, and I got 3 plasma shots off at the Death Watch, and right away I kill the bike, and I kill 2 of the 2 jump guys right away. So that wasn't good for him. We did a couple more shots, but there was nothing too significant. Blah 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 blah. Their turn 2 happens. Turn 2, the Death Watch missile launcher needs a 5 or a 6 to go off. He rolled a 5. The Space Wolf player was a lone wolf with 2 wolves, like actual wolves, and 2 units of Grey Hunters, and a Dreadnought. He puts the 10-inch blast template on top of the Marines. It was a 10-man unit down to 9, and the Dreadnought, and spots on. The Dreadnoughts, not Dreadnought, that is a completely different thing. The Dreadnought gets immobilized, is no longer useful in the game because it has a 12-inch gun, and all 9 of the Space Marines die. He rolled all his wounds. So, right off the bat, the Space Wolf player is almost immediately dead. Which it's funny how it kind of worked, because throughout the course of the game, the Space Wolf player got tabled, and the Death Watch player got tabled. So both the Marines player got tabled. We really jumped hard on the Death Watch guy, and we took him down. I can't go into turn per turn for this one because there's just so much that happened. The Space Wolf player got tabled. The Death Watch player got tabled. It ended on turn 5. We got another point because they killed the Lone Wolf. And what happens with the Lone Wolf is, if you kill the Lone Wolf, if you kill it, the player who owned the Lone Wolf, which was us, gets a point. Because the Lone Wolf's objective is suicide. He's trying to die. And the thing about the Lone Wolf is you're supposed to try not to kill it, but it's doing everything to be an annoying pest in the process. So it died, and we gained the point. So that balanced out the first blood. Neither of us had Linebreaker, and because we were 6 players, we decided that there would be no Warlords, so there were no Warlords to slay. One of my Fire War units got assaulted by the Broodlord. Just the Broodlord. It didn't have any Gene Steers left. The Chaos Lord killed the Death Leaper. Then the one guardsman unit died. The other guardsman unit was fine. Neither of the two command units died. None of the warriors died. The Chaos Lords, the Chaos guys lost some people, but the HQ was still alive, just barely. The HQ, the Chaos HQ, and the Death Leaper got in close combat with each other in a challenge, and the Chaos guy just barely pulled it off, like just by a sliver of a hair. Like, it was real close. I'm trying to recollect anything else, but I'm kind of drawing blank on this one. It was a stressful game because it was so close back and forth, but it was definitely a good one, a lot of fun, and I'm glad it led to the tie. I kind of, when I played for 40K, I always like to go for a tie, because a tie is nobody gets upset, you know. Nobody gets upset. Like, you don't have to be upset about losing, but it's always more fun to win. Nobody would rather lose. It just doesn't. Nobody's like that. So you don't have to be a sore loser about it, but everyone would obviously rather win. So when you get a tie, nobody got that advantage over the other. No one player was held above another, and we ended it legitimately. Nobody had to call it. The Space Wolf player had to go home at one point, but all he had left on the table was like 4 Space Marines. So I took over for him, and it wasn't that hard. They died to the Death Leaper and Broodlord in combat. I can't think of anything else. I lost some Fire Warriors. I lost a Crisis Suit. I had one unit of Fire Warriors that literally stood still the entire game because they were the unit with the Fire Blade. They stood still because they were pulse rifles, and they were always in range the entire game, and they never lost anyone. So I think I was the only guy with an unscathed unit, I think. Yeah. But it's not like they were doing all that tremendously much. When it ended on turn 5, it still could have gone either way. All that was left on the table at the end of turn 5 was 2 Chaos Space Marines, the Chaos Lord with 1 wound left, 11 Fire Warriors and a Fire Blade, I think 5 Fire Warriors and the Ethereal, 2 Crisis Suits unwounded, 3 Warriors, 1 with 1 wound left, a Piranha that was unwounded, the Death Strike Missile Launcher that was unwounded but had already done its thing, a unit of Guardsmen that was plenty strong, a command unit that was unscathed, a command unit that was unscathed, and I think that's everything. Oh, and a unit of Cultists that was unscathed, but the Cultists weren't doing that much. They were mostly sitting on our objective the entire game. So yeah, so 3-on-3 in the turn 5, 4 points. Nobody brought in any deep strike. The majority of us tried to keep our lists balanced, except with the exception of the one Imperial Guard player, who I admit was doing kind of a cheese thing with the Death Strike Missile Launcher. If it worked in a 3v3 because he kind of turned it into a 2-on-2. Like he was kind of done after he did that, but he took a player out with him. But in a 1-on-1 scenario, if he had brought that, it probably would have been like kind of the end for the other player. Especially if it was like the Death Watch player only has 1 unit where he can't spread out. Like, he's gonna get hit and then he's just done, you know. So that was kind of ridiculous, but I think that was kind of the only one person who kind of crossed the line. But it worked in a 3-on-3 setting, so I can't complain that much. It was a good game. I had a lot of fun, and hopefully next week I'll be able to play fantasy. So there should be a fantasy video next week. But thank you for listening.